Tere, mina olen Kristi Jõeäär, Tehnopoli Taskuhäälingu hääl. Sel korral toome teieni ühe väga põneva salvestuse. 14. detsembril käis Tehnopol Startup Inkubaatori kohvihommikul külas Triin Kask. Triin on iduettevõtte Soulie asutaja ja kogenud oma nahal kõiki rõõme ja muresid, mis ettevõtte ehitamisega kaasnevad. See on nagu sõit Ameerika mägedel, mida iseloomustavad märksõnad kiirus, ootamatus, pettumused, suur koormus ja tohutu vaimne pinge. Kuidas sõita nii, et tulemused tulevad ja hoitud on ka ettevõtja üks kõige hinnalisem vara, vaimne tervis? Sellest Triin räägibki. Taskuhäälinguna edastatud salvestus on inglise keeles. Põnevat kuulamist.
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me today here to talk about my journey. And I don't have any slides, so I really do prefer that I just describe what has been happening with me throughout these 15 years. I just counted that I have been building startups now for 15 years already. But anyway, all those stories start with like, so how did it start, or what was those first triggering moments that actually, how did I become a startup founder? Because I was studying economics in the university, and I was thinking that I'm going to into the finance sector, and I was actually doing my thesis on financing and banks and whatnot. But then when I was applying to some jobs, I understood that this is not for me at all. I can't imagine myself working in a bank from 8 to 5 or whatever those hours were. And then at that time, it was like around 2006, 2007, I believe Skype was then bought by Microsoft from eBay, because first eBay bought Skype from Skype founders, and then later Microsoft. And I was like, bloody hell, you know, all the sexy things are happening now in IT, not in banking. And I thought that I was studying a totally wrong, in a totally wrong industry. And I should have gone and studied IT. I don't know, are you all with an IT background, computer science? What other areas you're from? Communications. What else? So because that's economics, basically. Yeah. Any other interesting?
China studies and philologies.
Huh? China, nice. Anything else? I don't know. Arts, design. Okay, cool. Sometimes I think that why didn't I go to study arts? Because I have discovered those throughout those years that there is some artsy side of me as well. But anyway, and then I was like, okay, I should have studied programming, because I knew nothing about programming. And of course, it's like usually, where does this first idea come from? And I was, okay, you know, if these guys, I literally was thinking, so it was my naive stereotyping of the world. You were checking out those nerds who built Skype, and I was like, okay, I don't look like a nerd. Where the hell should I start from? And I was at the same time thinking also, so if those nerds actually built a billion-dollar company, why couldn't I, as I'm like studying economics? So that was my naive interpretation of the business world, because I was truly believing that I'm going to study finance and eventually I will do my own bank. And you know, this was the 90s in Estonia, because banking was basically the whole finance sector was the startup sector, and then it started to become the IT sector as the startup sector in 2000s, in the second half. But at that time, there was like no startup ecosystem in Estonia. So I didn't know even where to start. But I had this idea that it has to be related somehow to IT, because it's the only way how you build something locally that you can provide globally. That was also the beauty of this idea, why I fell totally in love with the Skype story. And then, like those stories go, you search for this idea, like what could it be? What could be this build local for global? And of course, like when you have studied economics, it's very hard to get those ideas from this industry. But then one day I was eating a lunch and I came back to my car and I saw a parking ticket again. And I was like, bloody hell! Why isn't there any GPS-based whatever device that you put in your car and it understands when you park your car and it communicates with some sort of database and it gives you the device, command to put some parking on because it's a paid parking area and you know it starts parking payment and later when you drive away then it automatically ends parking and you're done. You don't have to think about it. And it was like, I literally had this aha moment, you know, like, oh, like in a movie. I was like, where should I go with this idea now? Oh my God, I was standing there at my car like, could this be the next Skype? Because everybody who has a car, they need to drive and park and they probably have gotten those same parking tickets every once in a while. And you know, everybody should have this problem. So I was really excited about my local global idea that ahaed me in this moment. So I went home. I was smart enough to Google, you know. This is something that I did do right in when I was studying economics, that you have to do competitive analysis. So I was Googling GPS-based parking systems, GPS-based parking payments, so all these kind of keywords I was Googling. And there was nothing there. So I was like, wow, how come I, you know, a regular person on the street actually came to this idea and no one has done it yet. Of course, I was like momentarily thinking, I have to do it. This is my mission. I am going to build this GPS-based parking payment. Hell yeah! So, but then, you know, reality strikes or kind of like stucks you and you understand like, but I don't know how. I have like no GPS experience or knowledge. I don't know anyone from the IT sector. I knew no programmers. Like I only knew the Wi-Fi guy, the server guy in our Faculty of Economics, and he was so bloody scary that no one ever wanted to talk to him because he was like, what do you want? I want Wi-Fi password. So what not grade, course, in what course are you? I'm in entrepreneurship. Okay, who's your supervisor? So he was really such some sort of Gestapo guy that we were all afraid of him. So I understood that I cannot go to him to talk about my genius GPS idea. So I was also smart enough, I don't know if I got it from the studying economics or from somewhere else, but I understood that I have to start to talk to people. Like I also see this very often with starting entrepreneurs, that they are afraid to talk about their idea because very often we think that we have this genius idea, someone definitely steals it. I hear it all the time. I'm not ready to talk about it. I don't want you to steal my idea. But I didn't think about it at that time, funnily enough. So literally I was thinking, okay, Skype nerds, they have slippers, then they have socks and t-shirt and glasses maybe, and Coca-Cola. So I was stereotyping people. I have to look out those people in the crowd and start talking to them because they might know something about IT, GPS, software, firmware, hardware, whatnot. And the first people I was screening were in the Faculty of Economics, and there was, if you have heard about Indrek Sepa works in e-residency program, and he's got one of the fans, like the biggest fans in Estonia of AI and ChatGPT, so he talks about it a lot. And he was trying to get into the PhD studies at that time, but he unfortunately was always rejected. I don't know why, but he was hanging around in faculty. So I went to him because he was drinking constantly Coca-Cola. He had slivers. He was wearing T-shirts, you know, all those like glasses, everything. stereotypical IT person for me. So I went to him like, hey, Indrek, I have this idea, you know, this GPS-based parking payment that, you know, puts automatically on parking payments and later takes it off. And he was like, yeah, you know, GPS is like getting good. It's like, you know, plus minus 2 meters accuracy. And and those chips are actually becoming better and better. And I should put you together with Jaanus Tamm, who was at that time building Smartest startup, which is now Defendec, which is actually defending our borders, border with Russia. So already at that time, and he was the first like business person who was hearing my idea and giving me feedback. And the first feedback he gave me was like, write a one-pager, you know, write a one-pager. And I was like, okay, what is this? So anyway, I'm now how to say, speedy, taking up the speed of the story, but I did finally, or eventually, after a year and a half of searching, found myself a co-founder. So it does take time. If you know no one, you have to actually talk to people. I talked to a lot of people, and I remember one time a guy was saying to me, it was the last drop of my glass, so to speak, who was saying, okay, you know, I know a guy in NASA, N-A-S-A, how do you call it, pronounce it, NASA, N-A-S-A, NASA, and I know a GPS guy who knows everything about GPS, so you should talk to him. And I was like, okay, I think that I'm not going to talk to a NASA guy. It seemed like too much, you know, too far away. So I thought that, okay, maybe it's not my mission to build this GPS-based parking payment. Maybe someone else takes it. But like those stories go, almost you're giving up, and then some sort of twist happens. So I was at my cousin's birthday party, and I remember that he was also related to IT somehow. He was actually doing Credit 24 at that time. He was one of the founders. And I was telling him that I was eating salad there and telling him like, you know, I have this GPS-based idea. And he was like, I know exactly a guy who has like 15 years of experience with location-based services, and he just left his job with a bunch of hardware developers. So and they were they were kicked off from Oscando that was doing hardware for location-based services. So I got like a bunch of basically experts in Estonia who you could find, and they were momentarily so much triggered by this GPS-based parking system that they actually started doing this with me. And I was really surprised that me, without no experience, that I can somehow convince these very smart, experienced people to work together with me. So that was another lesson that I learned, that it is so that everybody has their strengths, and it's really, really important that people who want to build can build. You know, this is what they like to do. They want to build stuff. And then there are people who want to talk, like me, who go around, talk to people, convince people, get those people together, and it doesn't matter if you don't have this expertise. So it really calmed me down that it's okay that I'm not a programmer or that I don't know much about IT, but I was always fascinated about what things in the IT world could do, like what doors they open for us and what kind of innovations they bring forward. So it always really captured my, how to say, my attention, and I really wanted to be involved in those innovations. So I understood that I just need to find people who know how to do it, and I'm the one who can figure out what to do and also build the process. So the visionary can be actually a person who doesn't necessarily have the skill set. So that really calmed me down, and I felt really, really good. And this is one thing what I've also heard, for example, from Brian Chesky, who is the founder of Airbnb and who is actually a designer. So why I also ask, like, do we have people from arts? That he also says that it's so important that we have this diversity. Like, not only IT people build IT businesses, but we have other people coming with their ideas and visions as well. So I felt like, okay, I think that I can do it. So we started to build this, and And of course, when you build a prototype and then by accident, I won a Latitude 59 conference, this pitching competition in 2012. I was almost not let on the stage because my pitch the day before was so bad that they were telling me that we are not letting you on stage if you don't massively improve throughout the night. So I did some miracles during the night. You know, it's again this story when you're almost thinking, okay, this is not for me, then some superpower strikes you. And I did manage to put this pitch together. I won it, and then I was taken to Silicon Valley for 3 months. So I lived there. And then, of course, it was in 2012. Estonia was still doing like baby steps in terms of startups. But I learned massively. I understood how this thing is done. So I reckon a lot of you have watched Silicon Valley, the comedy, which is not so much a comedy, it's like really happening like this, and a lot of what was in the serious, how do you pronounce that? Serious. God damn my English. What was happening in Silicon Valley was actually happening in Silicon Valley. So the learning curve was massive. I understood how actually the startup founders failed there, what failure means to them, and what is the science of a failure, that you actually need to fail fast in order to understand does it work or not. So failures were really welcome. So I understood that, hey, maybe it is so that our idea actually sucks and we have to pivot. So I learned this word pivot. I was like, what is a pivot? I didn't know at all what was a pivot at first. But then they explained to me that, you have to learn very, very fast, is this business model working? And I understood that parking is such a complex industry that there were like, in Estonia it's easy because we only have one parking operator, which is Telia basically, and they cover all the management and operations for other parking operators. But in the rest of the world, it's basically you have thousands of parking operators in one place. So for example, San Francisco was full of operators, and I would have, or I don't know, it would have meant that there was like no standard solution, or it would have taken me years to actually convince them to come to a standard platform. And there were, tickets, there were machines, there were just, some sort of apps, but also some other systems. So to standardize all this would have taken a lot of time. So it was not scalable. And when I was talking to industry people there, parking operators themselves, city governmental people, VCs, then everybody was telling me, you need to pivot. But usually when the pivotal moment comes, then, you have to convince your team that we need to pivot. But the rest of my team was in Estonia. So I was the only one going through this learning curve. And of course, they were thinking that I've gone crazy. Like, what pivot? We are building a payment system here for parking, and you're talking about pivot. So there was a massive conflict in our team. And that was, I think, the rookie moment of me being a leader, that I really didn't know how to solve this conflict. I was very bad in terms of communication myself. I have improved a lot. I still have a lot to improve. But at that time, I really was struggling to communicate those changes to my team. I remember that there was this curricula, or this course of change management in my economic studies. It was there, yeah, it was change management, and I remember that there was this process, and it was communication was the key, and transparency and everything, but I couldn't make it happen. So there was a huge conflict, and in the end, I couldn't pitch to my own team this pivotal moment, which was unfortunate because we ran out of money, and then we already started doing the pilot project together with Telia in Estonia. We actually had 100 devices in different cars. I was able to park my car actually without ever thinking about it. There was a device that put my parking payment on and later finished it, and it's still unsolved. So sometimes I'm thinking, if my third startups now somehow will not make it, then maybe it's time to go back to the initial idea. Because sometimes life is like you start for somewhere, you go somewhere, and then you return to the beginning. I have to watch my words now because, you know,
maybe city governments are now more willing to collaborate and make it mandatory to be
yes.
regulatory hacking.
Anyway, yep.
What was your pivotal idea how to make it scalable?
Well, it was, so there were different things. I came to this moment that we actually need to think a new business model or new implementation for this device. So at that time, I think Waze was not bought by Google yet. Waze was still also a startup. I was walking past their office and I was thinking like maybe we can, you know, put their software on our devices and work somehow collaborate on that end. And then there was also thinking about like insurance business. Of course, when I was, if I would have gone into that, then I would see that it's also very hard business, like insurance, come on. But at that time, I understood that there are other possibilities as well. I think it's also very often for the first-time founders that we limit ourselves with only one possibility. Like you came to this one first idea and you think that that's it, you're doomed with this idea. But the pool of options is massive. You can do whatever. You can pivot your idea to whatever direction. But the thing is that you have to get the input for that from the market, from the customers. So I started to get this, that it's not the end user who is actually, in our case, the customer. It's those parking operators and cities. And of course, you know, that was a very complicated business. So I had to find a new market, so to speak, to that. I got liberated, I would say, as an entrepreneur. I got this freedom that you can actually let go of your first ideas that might not work. And it's okay that there are so many other ideas that can work. You have to experiment, you have to test them out. And then, but I couldn't convince my team. They didn't have this liberation moment because they didn't have this sort of learning curve, unfortunately. But so there was a conflict. We closed down the company, and usually those moments, I didn't have any like mental issues then, but I definitely had a very guilty or issue with the guilt feeling that, hey, you know, I let down the team. There were like my friends who were investing. My mom put money in. I put a lot of money in. So everybody was losing money. So definitely there was some disturbing feeling of guilt. And I think now when I reflect back to what happened later, I have so little time. What happened later, that the feeling of guilt stayed there, and it very much determined the rest of my how my senses started to work when I started to build my second company. But it was all unconscious. I didn't realize at that time. But I think that a lot of things what happened in the second company were motivated by the need for redemption, which I now reflect back to. But at that time, I didn't understand like where did those things come from. Very often you can only, you know, connect the dots afterwards. So the second company was initiated by a bunch of mobile app developers, and they turned to me like, "Hey, Triin, we heard that you're not in your startup anymore, and we need this business side and someone who pitches and raises money." And I was like, "Hey, I'm still necessary." Like it was a good feeling, you know, that actually those things that I had learned are now valuable for someone. So that was also very good feeling that I didn't waste my time those 3-4 years building something and not coming to a good point in terms of business, but actually I was having now a skill set, experience and network that I could use in the second company. So we founded a company called Nevercode. I don't know if you use, when you build applications that you probably need to use some sort of continuous integration and delivery system. Very often people put up Jenkins, but we are this automated cloud-based CI/CD tool for mobile app developers. And now we have a really awesome product called Code Magic together with Flutter, which is Google product. But that's a very long story. Because we're focusing on the mental health part. So anyway, building Nevercode was really hard. You know, it's usually said that a SaaS company, the average time a SaaS company gets to 1 million ARR is 5 years. And when we were on the 4th year, we saw that we are still far away. Our MRR was something like 25,000-30,000, and it was the growth was really flat. And again, we were in this moment like, we had raised money, we had some really good clients like Toyota, Schneider Electrics, Channel 4, Boston Consulting Group. So these really huge names, like very, very nice business it seemed so, but it didn't grow at all. And of course, me and my co-founder, we were really ambitious people, like, hey, we don't want to do some sort of like just a ticking business that generates some sort of revenue, but is not growing. Like we want to have also this unicorn moment in the end. So we were talking to our London investor, like what to do. Should we close the company? Should we pivot to some other business? Should we do something else with the same team, or should we just continue? And fortunate enough, our investor was so reasonable. He said, like, you know, it's your business, you're the founders. Hey, if you close down, then we lose your money, but you need to go to work. Haha, so we're even. So it was very refreshing to have this sort of feedback from your investor that he was cool with whatever we decided. And it also liberated us, like, okay, what do we actually want to do? And we were thinking, I think that we have to either sell or close down, but definitely we're not just going to spend the rest of our years with the 30,000 MRR. And our market share did very good job in terms of, so there was this moment. We were talking in London, talking to our investor about closing down the business. At that time, our developers were hearing that Flutter is coming very soon out with their production-ready version. They were still in beta, but they were talking about coming out fully. And then our developers were just writing a documentation like, hey, Flutter developer, this is how you can run your apps on Nevercode. And we just wanted to see the reaction from Flutter developers. This was also something that I now understand what we did. We actually did no coding before getting some sort of feedback from your customers, which was really good. Because I think that we hadn't done it properly. We were always building, and then we built something, and then we went to the customer showing them, hey, we had built this feature, do you want it? But now it was like, hey, let's not do the Flutter version at all. Let's first ask, are they willing to, what are they looking for? Like what kind of CI/CD service would they want to have? And let's try to move Nevercode towards that. And our marketeer was writing a really good blog post about it, like, hey, Nevercode has this awesome documentation now for Flutter developers, and Flutter this and Flutter that, and awesome, and democratizes and whatnot, you know, vision and all this. And Tim Sneath, the director of Flutter, actually was hooked to the tweet that Maria put there, and he replied, it's awesome what you're building, DM me. And we were like, oh, what is this? You know, yeah, it was like, okay, should we close down the company or actually take this? And in those moments, you have this feeling of you have nothing to lose. And those moments in life are the most, like gems. But they are so rare. And we reached this moment where we had like nothing to lose. So we put all eggs into one basket. And I was telling to the team, forget about Nevercode. we are building a new product. And then a couple of developers left. But we were saying that, hey, this is one chance in a lifetime that we can do something together with Google. They have invited us to collaborate. So in August, we were in our investor's office telling about, hey, let's close down the company. In September, we were in Google's office talking to Tim Sneath, showing mock-ups. Like, this is what we want to build for Flutter developers. He said, awesome, show me a working prototype in October. Our 2 developers were like crazy. We went out there hiring a lot of developers because we were thinking, okay, we raised a new round from our London investor. We said, like, this is a chance to really prove that there is something, that there is a blue ocean, that we can actually find ourselves a growth channel. And our 2 developers were building this prototype for October, like build the same what you had just built for 4 years, basically. But the minimum. And it also showed me that you have to only maybe build one thing, but it needs to work very, very well. So just focus on one thing, build it so excellently that when the user uses it, they get such an experience that they say, wow. And that's when we were thinking that this product will be named Code Magic. We wanted developers to feel the magic of this building tool, that really everything goes so smoothly. And that time, in October, it was me and my co-founder. I was surrounded by, I don't know, 10 to 15 Flutter engineers. Now it's again like those I can't even explain how the feeling is, but this very funny moments when who are not an engineer, pitches something to like really good engineers, and they are all like, wow, this is amazing, awesome job. And they were drilling me like, okay, show how this works. And I was like, ah. But you have this feeling when you have nothing to lose. This is, I can't stress it enough. Like, how can we create this feeling every day, like nothing to lose feeling? But, and then we were eating lunch together. And then Tim was saying like, hey guys, can you please come for another meeting, which was not in the calendar. And then he told us those historical words like, we want you to demo your product when we are coming out with Flutter in December in London for the rest of the world. And we were like, yeah, we are not going to disappoint you, Tim. We are doing the best demo ever. And yeah, time, I know, time runs. I'm about to, the mental health thing is about to come. Anyway, so October we're showing the prototype. We came back to Estonia to the rest of the team. We're saying we're on, they're letting us on stage with them, which is like in terms of marketing, this is the max you can get to. You need to get to your audience. You basically where your audience is. And of course, the good thing is that all my presentation rehearsals, whatnot, were perfect. Nothing smashed, nothing collapsed. All demo, all prototype was working like magic. The first MVP was working really well. Then, you start to think, but what if, Murphy shows up, and then when you have the real demo, it collapses and you're doomed miserably. But I somehow managed to keep those thoughts away from me, like, hey, you have come this far. And it was Maria, again, our marketeer, who was telling me, like, Triin, you have this like 5 minutes on stage with the largest one of the largest companies in the world, and enjoy, enjoy those 5 minutes. This is your moment. You have really worked hard for this. And I was like, yeah, why should I be like scared? Or, these are people who I'm building this product for with my team. Why should I be, embarrassed, or we have done really good job. We got like really good reflection from the engineering team. Like let's have this proud moment. And fortunately, Murphy didn't show up. Everything was super smooth. And the moment I was on stage, I said, we built code magic. Then it went like this, you know. We were like bombarded, the influx of signups came, and we basically hit the same targets in 6 months that we had done with Nevercode's original product in 4 or 5 years by that time already. And then we sealed a huge contract with Google, which brought us to break even. Then we started to see, we also launched our paid product, and we reached this 1 million ARR in, I believe, in 2 years, not 5. And then I burned out. You know, in the moment where we were basically sealing this 1 million contract with Google, we were at the break even, and everything would have been like, okay, now you can rest, and now you can just take a breath. And then very often when things go really, really well, people burn out. So I think what happened to me was, like I said, I had this this feeling of guilt that was still in me. So a lot of the things that I was doing was not for me, but for, as I said, for redemption. So I was doing a lot of my decisions and also pushing myself because I didn't want to let people down. And that is the biggest danger when you're undermining yourself with this constant thinking, I can't let people down. It doesn't matter. Yes, other people are important, but the most important thing is actually how you feel about it. It's not like I can't let myself down. It's even worse. Like I let myself down the first time. I can't let myself down now. It's more about, hey, this is just a game. Actually, you know, business is something that we have created. We have created this world ourselves, humans. We think that this is the way how the world should work. And it has been here, you know, if you think about the universe, how big it is, how old it is, and how young are we as humans, and what we have created, then no one says that this is exactly how it should be because it has always been like this. No, nature is kind of the only thing that has existed and is the only truth for me. So at that time, I was understanding that I have built the whole thing from wrong reasons. I was not actually understanding the game in this sense that you can also establish your own rules. There are some rules that people have established that you need to follow in order to do collaboration and business. But very often you have to also think about how can you be creative in this established game, how you can create your own game in this big game. And I had totally missed that, the whole point or the joy element of business. And I was totally thinking about wrong things. I was thinking, how should I not let people down, which is already negative. Like, don't let people down, you know. Constantly, every day I was thinking, I have to go there. We have to pull it through. There was like the whole fun nature that I have was undermined by this this feeling of guilt. Of course, a lot of other things happened. So, for example, when we were closing the deal with Google, we had like 3 months to go when we had to raise investment. And we had an investor who said, yeah, no problem. We will cover this 3 months. And I was, it was my, I understood already by that time that something is wrong with me, because after this, when we had this hockey stick going up, it was in December 2018, and I felt after I started to feel really bad. And that's also so funny that there have been also those you know, like winning moments for people. And then they later witnessed that they were so close to suicide. You know, they win Oscars or awards and they like, I don't know, 30 under 30 on Forbes or we're not. And they are so close to suicide, actually. Like they're smiling, but at home they're crying. And I was like, okay, now the real things begins. And all these 4 years or 5 years, what we had already built it was like, you know, nothing compared to what happens now. And I felt that I was totally out of energy. I had put my all into Nevercode by that time, and I needed a bigger vacation because I hadn't had a proper vacation throughout those years. So I felt that I had to take time off. And I was thinking, okay, you know, I will do it during summertime. Then it's like anyway, slower, everybody's on vacations, business is down anyway. So, you know, I was raising this money from investors that we could cover this time period. And at the same time, we were closing this deal with Google. So, okay. But at the same time, I started to have really bad, how would I say it? Like bad feeling about myself or life in general. I wasn't feeling any joy what we were doing. Also, it was like the reasons to feel joy were all there. We were growing 30% month over month, customers coming, praising, team super happy, Google happy, everybody happy, me not happy at all. And then I understood that something is really wrong with me. And I think, so in January I started to feel bad. It came worse and worse and worse. And depression is something that is incremental. It doesn't hit you like this. What does hit you like this in the end is burnout, which is called a symptom of depression or anxiety. And it did hit me in the end. But I started to feel that I had like no joy. And somehow those motivational speeches that, hey, you know, it doesn't matter if you fall, it matters how fast you stand up and continue. And, you know, if you're building this thing that you really love, then, you know, nothing matters and just keep going on. And I was like, but, you know, I was thinking like, but I should love it. I should feel positive about what we're doing, but I was actually not. So witnessing to myself that I didn't feel any joy about our massively successful product.
Not the reason for guilt, I guess.
Yes, yes, exactly. So this unconscious guilt was becoming bigger and I was feeling really bad. Why don't I feel happy about our success and our product and whatnot? So it started to, you know, pull me into a bigger hole. And it was, I believe, in May. So it had happened already for months that I woke up. I felt shitty. I went to bed in the evening. I felt shitty. During the day, I met my team. I put the smiling face on because, you know, neuroscience, right? When you smile, your brain also fixates itself to positive mood. And I was really believing in it that, hey, you just need to keep on smiling and everything is going to be okay. But what started to happen was that my heart started to do weird pumping, very fast and very slow. I started to have this tunnel vision, you know, that everything was foggy aside, and there was only one basically hole I could see through. So when I was driving a car, I was I think people who were seeing me outside saw some lunatic driving like this because I was looking through this little hole. And because it had all happened so incrementally, then you get used to it and you think that, you know, it's like, okay, maybe this is how founders live. This is the founder's life, you know. You're really happy and you're succeeding and this is the moment, you know. Now you're on the mountain, and then all of a sudden I clicked on an article which I usually don't, which was in some women's magazine called "Smiling Depression," and I clicked on it and I was reading, and it was like written by me, and I understood, bloody hell, I have smiling depression. This is exactly my diagnosis. And fortunately, my mom-in-law is a psychiatrist. Of course, no one understood that it was happening because I was smiling. I was like, yay, we can do it. Of course, like team, let's go. Gold magic, woo! And when I got the diagnosis that I had anxiety and depression disorder, and I was prescribed antidepressants and also you have to take a longer vacation. I was thinking, okay, now summer comes, I can take a longer vacation. Finally, we had this contract with Google. Investors were about to give me the money. So the first day of my vacation, when the money was supposed to come over, the investor says, sorry, we cannot invest. We have a conflict with some EU requirement. So we cannot actually invest in your company. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's my first day of vacation. Like I should have. Okay. So July, raising money, nice. So I was telling my investors that, hey, you know, I am going to raise money, but after I've done it, then probably I will just collapse because I have zero energy. So the whole thing that I was doing was negative, like going into the negative energy credit or like debt, basically. I had like no energy left and I lost a lot of weight. I'm already skinny, but then I was like super skinny. And I did raise this fucking money. And then I was like, when you reach burnout, you don't fucking care about anything at all. You just want to be left alone. You don't want to hear from anyone. You don't want to speak to anybody. You don't want to raise. You just want to like do whatever you want. I don't care. So when I closed the last ticket for the round to get us to break even, then I just decided one day that that's it. This is where my journey ends. Because what I understood was that, okay, I burned out, I could get well, but I'm actually a very bad leader for this company. When I'm out of energy, like, how am I supposed to lead this company? I understood that I have to for the sake of the company. That was actually a good thing to think about others. That was fair for the team to think that I have to leave in order for them to succeed. Because when I was drowning, you know, you're like drowning everybody else as well with you. And fortunately enough, I had our business manager at that time, Martin, who is now the CEO, and I gave him the stick, like, please take it from me. And, you know, you're good, we're in break even, money is coming over. Of course, it wasn't so easy. He had to deal now with these investors and relations and whatnot and paperwork. But I managed to give him all over. Then I did it all in one day. I think I wrote to the investors, like, I'm leaving, this person is taking over. I wrote to Google, I'm leaving, those people will take over. Then was the hardest part, the team. And it was ridiculous how I solved it. Another masterclass of unsuccessful communication. I just went there to my team like, hey team, great news. Martin is taking over as the CEO. I'm leaving, bye. Because I just didn't know how to handle the situation. I had like, I think zero reasonability in my brain left because it was all put into raising money and whatnot. So everybody was like, but we don't like Martin. We want you. No, Martin is great, really. He's going to be massively good CEO. Trust me, trust me. But I didn't reveal to them that I was diagnosed with depression. And I understood that that was a big mistake. So fortunately, now I had a moment of reasonability. Is it the word? Reasonability.
It's reason.
Yeah.
You just got your brains back.
Yeah, I got my brain back. Yes, yes, it kills all the sensible thinking. So anyway, I understood that I have to tell them honestly what is happening to me. And then I told my team, like, guys, girls, I'm in severe depression. I have burnt out and I can't lead the company anymore. I have to leave. I have to take good care of myself and become well again. And then, of course, they understood. They were like, thank you for telling us. because I was so used to that. I have to put on the good face. I'm a leader. I cannot let the rest of the team down. I cannot share my weakness. I saw this as a weakness. But it's now that I understand that it's actually vulnerability that makes you strong. When you reveal your vulnerabilities to others and you're okay with those, this makes it your strength. And now it's like I use this knowledge totally differently with my team now and in my third company. So I took the time off. I was a year and a half away. Yeah. I was thinking like I'm not saying yes to no project, no proposition until I really feel that my batteries are charged fully. So that was my commitment to myself. I said that enough of thinking of others. What are others thinking? Am I letting them down? It's now my time. I have to take care of myself. This is my life. I really understood it because I think also the understanding point actually came from, which I'm so happy about, that we moved to a forest. We built a house into a forest surrounded with nature. And then, this realization that it's the most authentic thing in this world is nature. And everything what we have created is actually illusion. And it can stop happening when nature just, the kind of the possibility is there and an asteroid hits us again. It's no longer there. But the asteroids are still there. Black holes are still there. The universe is still there, but we are not there anymore. So I understood that the only thing that matters is actually nature. So how can I live most naturally? And I started to understand that I am also nature. It's biology, it's chemistry, it's physics. So I have to understand how those things work in general in order to make my body, mind, my physics, my mental, all in accordance to nature, and then play this game in terms of a healthy, complete, natural being, as a natural being. It took a lot of time. It's a lot of work with oneself to actually get into this mindset. I wouldn't say it's like some call it Buddhism or Zen or whatnot. No, it's just natural being, that you actually understand that you're part of nature. So how should you be in terms of life in general? And it opened so many new perspectives, like, hey, it's my decision how I want to be in my business, how we're building the team. It's not, no Elon Musk is telling me that we have to work 100 hours a week. That's your little trick there. I don't have to play by your thought out rules. I will establish my own rules. And being surrounded by nature every day when I'm at home, there are deers and foxes and rabbits and whatnot. And I also thought that we people, we're like so selfish. We think that everything is around us, that we have to go to moon, we have to go to Mars, we have to put a tent in the universe and whatnot, leave a legacy. And I was like, how dare we? Like, how do we actually come to this point of thinking that we are better than a deer, for example, or a fox who is just eating, shitting, having sex, walking around our house? Like, why do we think that we are better than this creature of nature? We're not. So, and that's also liberated me. So becoming aware that I'm part of nature liberated me fully. So now I'm just a natural human being. And doing things that I like and working on problems that I think are important, which is mental health and also social media, how it works, and so that we are not so addicted to it as we are, implementing humane design principles. Bloody hell, I'm like 30 minutes over time. Sorry for stealing your time. No. But yeah, so if you have any questions, just shoot. I think I tried to, put this all into some.
Many people travel when they need to kind of fix their minds. Did you too travel or did you stay at home for the whole time?
I was at my house in the forest. We just moved in, so now I realized that this artsy part, why I was asking, like I really like interior design. I understood that, hey, I'm really good at it. So when I started to design my own house, I felt so much joy that I can do totally the opposite to building a business. Like finding colors, geometry, couches, how much aesthetics there is. I started to collect art, like, oh my God, art! People paint fantastic things. So I just went into other areas to discover that the life is so much more than building startups. Yeah, I didn't travel. COVID also came very conveniently, so.
You mentioned you have gone through the burnout and you have the knowledge of it. How much do you think about it today and how do you prevent it if things get overwhelming?
I think that I don't do anything so mindful because I trained myself into being this new natural being or the existing natural being, but now understanding that I am one. Because I took 1.5 years off, so I just, with my psychologist, we worked on getting myself into this peace with myself. So I don't consciously think about those things. But if I would say, so for example, I was just telling, that you don't need, our ETA is next Thursday for the public version. And I was telling my team, like, hey, are we going to make it? And yeah, if we really push, we will. Okay, so is it going to be so that we are going to push it to be launched on 20th of December, and then we will panic the whole Christmas time and, try to fix bugs and respond to users' requests and whatnot? Or we can just decide that let's go to a vacation altogether. Let's not push it to next Thursday. Let's come back from Christmas time and then do it properly. So that's what we decided. So I think that is one thing. We don't have to push it for the sake of pushing. Like nothing happens when it's like 2 weeks later because everybody is on vacation anyway, having holidays and whatnot. So why do it? It's stupid. It's not natural in my mind. But for some people it might be. Maybe they want to feel this thrill. But it's not for me and my team. And also one more thing. Regarding, so you're founders, right? Regarding your own team. So my CTO hasn't taken a proper vacation for some time already. And so it's also how our team takes care of him. Like, hey, you haven't taken any vacation. You have to take vacation. So let's not push him even further. He's already in the verge of energy collapse. So let's not do it because we have to take care of each other as well. It's not just, no, it's like some founders are, we have to push, I have to push my team. I have to push. No, you also need to pull your team back and say that we need to have a proper vacation. Taking care of the whole team, not just your fixed ambition that we have to definitely launch before Christmas.
Teile esines iduettevõtte Soulie asutaja Triin Kask. Just nii põnevatel teemadel toimuvadki regulaarsed Tehnopol Startup Inkubaatori kohvihommikud. Kui soovid kuuluda kogukonda ja saada infot, vaata startupinkubaator.ee. Kuulmiseni!